All right, their opponent. Let's talk about Ohio State for a second.
Yes. Well, this was an interesting one. We thought going into this game this afternoon in the Rose Bowl, we had Oregon, Ohio State. The first time around, Oregon had won. This was, the Rose Bowl is so pretentious. I was so excited that they had to start on ESPN too, because I just, maybe that knocks them down a peg a little bit. Also, ESPN's in control of that. Why do you not just move kickoff by a few minutes? It's so stupid.
That's so annoying. And I feel like they've done that before when the playoff was just two teams and they were on the
Yeah.
same day. I feel like that's been done before. Maybe
I
I'm
feel like
crazy.
it's been done with college games when,
Yeah,
like,
I
just during the
just
regular season. It's so stupid that you're the only ones in control, and instead of adjusting, you
and
put them on a lesser channel. This is just, I don't know, it's stupid to me.
and the
Worried
first
about that
Jeremiah Smith
sunset in the third quarter.
the first Jeremiah Smith touchdown, like you
Nobody
missed it.
saw.
If you were still watching overtime, which I had both games pulled up, but if you're still just watching one game or you don't have a computer or a phone in front of you that you're pulled it up on, like you missed the first touchdown. Like, I don't know, man. It's in
I know.
overtime. Delay that thing by 10 minutes and roll. Like,
Listen, it's so silly. But we were kind of excited for this game. We talked a few days ago about the fact that it was kind of neat because it was, obviously Oregon is now in the Big Ten, but this is a traditional Pac-10 team that was playing a Big Ten opponent, or Pac-12 team, excuse me. Which is the traditional matchup in the Rose Bowl. There was a lot of pageantry involved with it being Oregon and Ohio State, and damn, then kickoff happened.
yeah, I think last week when we saw them do this to Tennessee, it was easy to just say like, oh, well, Tennessee had some ups and downs. They weren't good in all their games. They
Right.
struggled against Georgia. They nearly lost to Florida. They lost to Arkansas. Like, this Tennessee team, yeah, we can excuse that, right?
Yeah.
Ohio State was just pissed off about the Michigan thing. And then Samson goes down. They had some other things going on with Tennessee too. But then for them to do this against Oregon, like the 41-21 final score is not even close
No.
to how much of a blowout this was. Like they completely took their
Yeah.
foot off the gas. I mean, it was over at halftime.
Oh,
I know they got the
absolutely.
8 right before, but at 34-8, this thing was still over. And
Eric had our kids in the backyard with like a bonfire going. And I was like, are you not going to watch the second half of this game? He's like, are you kidding? It's over. This is
yeah,
over. And it was. I mean, and Jeremiah Smith is, we talked about Cam Scadaboo and impressive college football players. Jeremiah Smith would be wide receiver 1 on pretty much any NFL team today. It is
yeah.
wild.
Yeah, it's kind of unfair. I've said this a couple of times, so I'm stealing from myself. But it's almost unfair to not only him, but the rest of college football that he has to play for 2 more years. And I almost
Yes.
just wonder, it's not going to happen, right? But I'm going to say this anyway. I almost wonder if he's the kind of player that could get the NFL rules changed, could get the
Yeah.
draft eligibility
I
rules
mean,
changed. Because if there was ever a player you said like, all right, put that guy in the NFL, right? Like, would the rest of college football maybe petition to, or the rest of the Big Ten say like
yes.
after next year, after
We're
he wins
good.
the
We don't need to
Heisman
play
next
him
year,
anymore. We're good.
like
Yeah.
he's got to be. I haven't looked at any Heisman odds. We talked about him. I know you talked about him on your channel. He's got to be the Heisman favorite right now for next year,
Oh, yeah.
without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
They
It
don't
is
even they don't even play Oregon next year. Like he's going to put up absurd
absurd
numbers.
numbers. He is so good. And his situational awareness, like football IQ, did you see the play where he is literally like motioning to his teammates where they need to go for blocks and like
Yeah,
signaling doesn't want a blindside block here, like let's not get this called back.
yeah.
It is wild to watch him literally coach the other people on the field in real time while he is running up the sidelines. Like it just, he is so fun to watch. He is so impressive. It's so crazy to think that he's 19 years old. Just an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver at Ohio State. Brian Hartline has done such a phenomenal job there. It's honestly crazy to think how this team lost to Michigan. This team that we have watched the last 2 weeks just absolutely decimate really worthy playoff opponents. Oregon was undefeated this regular season, already beat Ohio State once, number 1 seed, and the just demolition that happened today in the Rose Bowl is insane. And Ohio State's got to be the odds-on favorite at this point. I mean, if they continue to play the way that we have seen them play the last 2 weeks. I can't imagine how they're not the favorite to win it all.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of said that, right? Like if they play like this again, but not really thinking they could play as well as they did against Tennessee, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I I thought a lot of Oregon when they I'm sorry, I thought a lot of Ohio I did think a lot of Oregon too before tonight. But I thought a lot of Ohio State when they beat Tennessee, but it also made me just seriously question Tennessee.
Tennessee, sure, sure,
And
but
so,
when Oregon, like, there isn't on paper, there is not a more worthy team in this playoff, right?
yeah,
They're the only team in college football that figured out how to remain undefeated, and, in college football, that is such a difficult thing to do. Oregon was worthy, so, like, we can have the debate whether or not Tennessee was worthy or they should have made the playoffs or whether or not 12 is too many, but no matter what number we decided was the right number, Oregon was going to be in.
sure. And so their talent level and just how I don't know. It is like mystifying that they were able to do this. Like, and
Yeah.
I as good as I mean, everybody was good for Ohio State tonight. There was no, there were no weaknesses on
Yeah.
the team. The only weakness
Oh,
was that they
Howard was
had to.
great.
I thought he was great. I think he's been. I mean, through 2 games, he's been the best quarterback in this thing.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Now, we'll see
Yeah.
how things go tomorrow with the fourth game. But there's
Yeah.
not been a quarterback that's even close to played as
Yeah.
well as he has. Quinn Ewers isn't close.
Nope.
Drew Aller's played well, but Riley Leonard's not close. Obviously, none of the teams that lost their quarterback was
Right.
was really great. So yeah, Will Howard. And I mean, you look at who's left. Like, you know, are you confident that Quinn's going to play better than him next game? Are you confident that either Gunner or Riley Leonard is going to play well that well? Drew Aller
Sure.
again maybe would be second to me. We'll see how the other two play against each other tomorrow. But Ohio State's not only got the best roster, I think they got the best quarterback left too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their defense though, which as good as the offense was, I think the way their defense played. I mean, Oregon's offense is insane, and they've got a
Mhm.
Heisman candidate leading it.
Yep.
They've got a
More
wide receiver
experience than
group.
anybody else in all of college football.
Yeah, a wide receiver group that I think is probably second best in the country, and they
Yeah.
got nothing done today. Obviously, once they got up 30, yeah, they scored a touchdown or two touchdowns once they were down by 34 points. Congratulations. The defense was insanely good today, and how many tackles for losses do they have? How many sacks do they have? How many? I mean, the guys weren't even like he wasn't even close to completing passes. Like the secondary was
Yeah.
phenomenal. They were so good in every aspect.
Yeah.
We talked about Saban's comments. Like, you think they're happy with Ryan Day again? Do you think they're back on the? They
I
got to be back on the
mean,
wagon at this point.
you would think they're back on the Ryan Day train at this moment, and it is. I mean, Saban has to be chuckling to himself, right? And this is the ebbs and flows of college football. This is all fan bases are insane. If you are one of these traditional blue bloods, even wackier, right? That's just kind of the nature of the beast. And for Ohio State, the knock on Ryan Day is Michigan. And it is mind-blowing to watch them the last 2 weeks though, and try to wrap your head around how they lost to Michigan and how he has lost to Michigan. What isn't it, 4 years in a row? I mean,
Yeah,
it
four out
is.
of five.
And at that point, you got to think that, okay, it's just they're in their head, but that's a whole separate host of problems. But I would think today, the Ohio State faithful is very pleased that Ryan Day is their head coach.
I mean, yeah, tonight we'll see. We'll see what they do against Texas. I mean, but we talked about this earlier. I think, is Ohio State your pick right now to win it? I mean, yeah, I know earlier you had
I mean,
Georgia.
yeah,
And
I want
I
to
didn't have
see
Ohio State
Georgia
either.
against Notre Dame, but I do. I mean, it is hard to think of anybody being hotter right now than Ohio State is. It's hard to watch them and picture who is going to beat them. I think that Kirby Smart is such a talented coach that I will not ever count him out. And I think that Georgia has every bit the talent on their rosters as Ohio State does. Now, they're playing with Gunner Stockton, a new quarterback who, outside of coming in for part of the SEC championship game, has seen mop up duty, and that's it. And that's a whole, you know, host of issues that come along with this. Really interested. We'll get into it in a minute to see how what has been going on in New Orleans affects the teams playing in this next playoff game. But you've got to think the easy answer is Ohio State right now.
Yeah, and that's not to say that Texas couldn't win in the next round and play a lot better, or Ohio State could kind of come back down from the clouds where they're at,
100%.
or that Gunner couldn't, pull
Texas
something
is
off crazy
incredibly
too.
talented. Georgia is incredibly talented. Penn State is talented, but I would put them a tick below the rosters of Texas and Ohio
Sure.
State and Georgia, and so those three, any given day could just flip a switch and be it, right? Because they have the talent for that to happen.
Yeah.
But I do think Ohio State is just playing so well right now. Hey guys, we appreciate you so much tuning into a peek inside SEC football. If you enjoyed the content, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any new content heading your way. We are live every Sunday evening and we would love to have you join us.